I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to read something. But before I do, I'm going to preface it with something, and I'll top and tail it. I'm going to read something. But the slide Clive has put up, 2015 Constitutions UK, is a political party, or it will be if it gets approved by the Electoral Commission. It's not a party, political party in any sense that you know them. Won't have an organisation, won't have a hierarchy, won't have funding, won't have selection committees, it won't have MPs that you can whip, it'll have none of those things. It's a political party because if you're going to intervene in the general election, if you're going to intervene in a democratic system such as it is, you need to register with the Electoral Commission. Because only in that sense is a political party. Okay. Let me just preface what I'm going to read out with where I've come from, which is about 25 years where you're at now. And I left by Clive, actually. I had a very good job. I was chief exec of a £100 billion company. I had big car, share options, and all that stuff. I walked out of that and became a volunteer in something you may not know is called Charter 88, set up in 1988 for constitutional reform of this country. And I became a volunteer and learned the trade, if you like, learned what politics is about, learned about some of these things that you've talked about tonight. I've been involved with so many reform groups I can't tell you. Monetary reform, land reform, political reform, electoral reform, you name it, I've been there, seen it, been on the boards, talked about it, debated it. About a year ago, I came to a very simple conclusion. This is going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. The reasons that Clive's indicated for some of the reasons that come out tonight, in that no matter what demands you make, whether they're single issue demands, whether they're systemic demands, whatever they are, the current political system will never ever, not ever, implement it. Not ever. So that leads to a very simple conclusion. How on earth? Everybody wants a better life. Nobody agrees with the state of play as it is now. How on earth are you going to get change? And there it is, in the middle. You've got to use the system as it exists to become the system and take responsibility to change the system. That is the only way you'll get any change of any of the things that you've talked about tonight. There is no other way. I hate to use Margaret Thatcher's words, but there is no other way. So what does this mean? So I'm going to read you an invitation that's going to a few people tomorrow. And I'll read it, and it should be fairly self-explanatory. You're invited to the launch of 2015 Constitutions UK at Runnymede, the home of Magna Carta, which is still alive, by the way. Some key clauses. Next Wednesday, the 5th of November, sees the launch of a movement dedicated to winning a general election within the next 5 years. Not to form a government, but to form a constitutional parliament. This parliament will proceed to carry out a root and branch reform of the political system, including the immediate abolition of the House of Lords. The process is simple. Our general election campaigns will be devoted to initiating and sustaining a national dialogue with the British people on the principles and the issues in moving from the current system to one where power is accountable. This is what a written constitution means, and why politicians shy away from it. It's not a panacea, but it's 100 times better than what we have to put up with now. A constitutional parliament, having the authority of the people, because it's been elected, enacts legislation to form itself both as a standing constitutional convention and a constitutional court. It will then proceed to write a constitution based on principles that we found in its charter at the website. Let me just break for a minute. Over the last 6-8 months, a 2015 charter has been written, and many of the things you've talked about tonight, many of the issues people are concerned about, are in this charter. We have done nothing, we have brought nothing new to this, absolutely nothing. The only thing that's new to this initiative is to use the system to become the system, to change it. That's the only thing that's new. If you look at the charter, you'll recognise many, many things that we've talked about tonight. Okay, so the idea is we win a general election. While this is underway, winning an election, becoming a constitutional parliament, writing a constitution and so on, a government is needed to run the country. We're not about becoming a government. We're about changing the system. The problem is this, the problem in finding a government. As a result of profound and unresolved political issues, such as dealing with the fallout of the Scottish referendum, the European Union is stuck between a confederal and a federal system, no consensus anywhere on what's next for the economy, unacceptable inequalities that are destabilising. The political parties are convulsed without leadership. They, the political parties, need to regroup. And the best opportunity for them is for the 2015 constitutionalists to win a general election. Because if they win, they can regroup and they can form. A competent government can be elected from this regrouping, all the while operating under and accountable to a constitutional parliament. Ambitious? Yes. Feasible? Yes. Legal? Yes. Practical? Yes. This invite will go out to 100, 200 people next Wednesday, 5th of November in Runnymede. This will be announced. And part of that announcement will explain a bit more detail of how this works. I'll go through it very, very quickly now. It's the easiest thing in the world to stand for Parliament. £500, your own money, a proposer, a seconder, and 10 people from the electoral register, you're a candidate. And the general election, you'll see all around the country people standing as independents, and of course they get nowhere, because they're against the party. The idea here is that we will encourage people to stand as candidates, their own funding, and they can use this brand, if you like, this party, the 2015 Constitutionalists, provided they campaign on the Charter. And the Charter is a radical document containing many of the things you've talked about tonight. If they agree to campaign on the Charter, they can go on the ballot paper with that note. And here's the trick. Since there's no control here, There's no hierarchy. There's no selection. People self-select. In any one constituency, multiple people can stand. So, it could be 3, 4, 5 people stand using that label. And the idea is the electorate choose the best person to do the job in a constitutional parliament. And people say, well, hang on. I go to the ballot box and I see 4 or 5 people standing here. And I've got a Tory, a Green, a Liberal, a Lib Dem, a UKIP, or whatever. You know, you're dividing the vote all this way. Yes, absolutely. The idea is to get a debate and a dialogue going to create a momentum behind it, so that people say, this is a way to change the system, this is a way things could become better. So, it's ambitious, but it's practical. It may take 5 years, it may take 10 years, but so far, there's been no publicity yet. Next Wednesday the 5th was the first time there'll be publicity. But the little we've talked about it, when I stand up in front of a group and say, what have you achieved with change in 10 years of campaigning for motor reform, 50 years campaigning for land reform, what have you achieved? Nothing. What will you achieve? Nothing, because of what we've heard tonight. You can change things. You can take responsibility, you can change things. So that's the announcement, and there's a lot more to it. If you read the charter, there's a hell of a lot in it. My postscript is this. I was speaking to Joe earlier on this evening, in that there's a lot talked about power tonight. And Tony Benn used to have a big thing about asking people, what power have you got, where do you get it from, what do you do with it, who are you accountable, how do you get rid of you, all of that stuff. That was fairly superficial. It's actually a very complex thing. It's an amazingly complex thing. I've been interested in power all my life, and where it actually comes from, and what it actually is. And I spent many years thinking, can you have a society without any organisation, without any institutions? Because that could be a source of power. The answer is you can't. You've got to have some form of organisation. So, in one sense, a project here is pretty straightforward. It's a political project. In another sense, we're doing this, there's 2 people in this party, because you have to have 1 million or 2 to register it. That's it. There's no money. We're going to try and get a debate going, and get people to stand, and so on and so forth. There's a number of models at the centre that we've developed, and people can access the website and so on and so forth. But there is organisation. There's a lot of thinking, and there's a lot of organisation, there's a lot of structure, and a lot of process, but there is no organisation. And this is if you like, an attempt to say, you need organisation and structure in society. You need it. Can you have it without the institutions that we're used to? And can you do it in this way? And can you dissolve the power that we've heard about tonight? That's the project.
Thank you, Ray. We'll have a quick 5 minutes for questions and then we'll round up. Alex?
Just a quick one. I like the idea.